And maybe this is a good segue into talking about a little bit more in depth about the liberal arts foundation that you'll find at a lot of the American university campuses. And Mary, I may ask you to elaborate that on that experience at Vanderbilt.
Absolutely. Vanderbilt, aside from the fact that it has three undergraduate professional schools, which are, as Tom mentioned, the School of Engineering, but also the School of Education and Human Development and the School of Music. Those three are professional schools that train you directly for a very specific profession. But the biggest of the four undergraduate schools is the College of Arts and Science, and that is our liberal arts school, and it is the foundation for all four of the schools and for all of the undergraduate education at Vanderbilt, because we believe absolutely firmly that by exploring broadly and learning to think critically and to express yourself and to do some scientific research and to think historically and understand a context, that you are in a much better position to learn whatever gets thrown at you and to take the twists and turns that your life will surely present. Because that's really the only thing we know for sure, is that people not only are likely to change their area of study during their years of college if they have the chance, and they do have the chance in the US, but that most people by the time they are ready to retire will have had three entirely distinct careers. And that's hard to fathom when you are trying at age 17 to determine your one career. But maybe it's freeing to know that you could have more than one, and that preparing broadly makes it easier for that to happen without trauma. So we believe very firmly that everybody should do some exploring. So students in the College of Arts and Science will have a major. That major, out of the 40 courses that you will take in your 4 years of college, the major comprises about a third of them. The exploring courses, the exploring across the breadth of the liberal arts, is another third, and that tends to happen mostly before you settle into your major, but it doesn't have to. Some students are spreading out their liberal arts foundation courses across their 4 years, and then there still is another third of your courses that you can use to explore several areas in greater depth, or to have a second major or a minor, which would be about half of a major. So that's if you're in the College of Arts and Science. If you are in the other three schools, the three professional schools, engineering, education and human development, and music, you will still do about a quarter of your coursework exploring across the spectrum of the liberal arts in the College of Arts and Science. And that's how Tom, as an engineer, happened to have the opportunity to take an economics course or two that enabled him to see that that in fact was a better fit for him, because he was encouraged to take courses outside of engineering. Now, in the US, you could go to a technical institute. You could go to an engineering university that really was just engineering. But if you go to a university like Vanderbilt that offers an engineering school within the context of a larger university, you are much more likely to have that opportunity to take courses beyond your own field of study, because that really is the American liberal arts approach. You also are going to be surrounded by students who are studying subjects that might be very different from the one that you've chosen. So you're not siloed or ghettoized into areas where you take only certain courses and you are surrounded by students pursuing the same area. You're in a community of scholars who are studying everything from engineering to economics to the French Horn to medicine, health, and society to human and organizational development. There's a full array, and that exchange of ideas that happens outside of the class as well as in is very much a part of your educational experience and very much a part of the way in which you see a broader spectrum of possibilities. So we embrace that. We think it's a very important part of what happens in the classroom. And it is very typically part of the American college scenario.
Great. Tom, I wanted to pick your brain a little bit more about student life on campus. And one of the things that's most exciting for New Zealand students is the opportunity to continue playing sport or really get behind a sporting culture on campus. And can you tell me a little bit about maybe going to some sporting events or what tailgating is or
Sure.
any of those things?
So tailgating is definitely something that was foreign to me because football is not huge in New England, at least not high school football. But tailgating is a really unique and fun experience where you get together with your friends and family and peer students before the football game and eat and hang out before the game and then go to the game and watch Vanderbilt play one of the monster teams of the Southeastern Conference. We have a little bit of an uphill battle. It's a little bit unfair since we're the smallest school in the Southeastern Conference, playing against what are essentially sort of almost NFL teams. But the benefit of that is you get to see some really big names before they become big names. Not to mention, every 4 or 5 years, Vanderbilt itself is actually quite good, and we have some good players on our own. Jay Cutler being one of them, who's in the NFL now. So football was really fun. That was my first experience watching college football, and I remember the first game I went to was Vanderbilt against Notre Dame, and it was live on ESPN. And we were winning up until the fourth quarter. We didn't win, but it was probably the most exciting football game I saw at Vanderbilt. It was quite an experience. Now, football probably is the biggest sport that we have in Vanderbilt, but basketball is also really good. We often, every few years, get into the tournament, the NCAA tournament, and have done quite well in recent years. Baseball, I think, if I'm not mistaken, today is the best sport at Vanderbilt, being ranked #1 in the country. Although this last year we didn't win the College World Series. We won, maybe it was 2 years ago. And I still follow the team. I'm quite proud of the Vanderbilt Commodores. They have turned out quite a program of really incredible baseball players at Vanderbilt, of which I think maybe each year 3 to 6, maybe even 9 are getting drafted to go into the feeder system for the major leagues. One of which I was watching him play in the playoffs just the other day for the Toronto Blue Jays. So Vanderbilt baseball is quite good. So those are the major sports that they have at Vanderbilt. But also, I don't know the number of sports, but I know that there's a huge list of sports that you can participate in.
Don't forget about women's tennis.
What is the number?
Women's tennis, they won last year.
I didn't know which. And women's basketball is also good.
Oh, women's basketball, they're good. But women's tennis, primo.
Right.
And women's bowling, primo.
I don't think we had bowling when I was there, so that's a new thing.
Oh,
I'm actually a fan of bowling. I enjoy bowling. We also have a really interesting rec center, which I don't know how it's been expanded over the years, but when I was there, it was one of the most impressive things that I've seen on the campus. One of the big draws to the campus was the ability to work out in this incredible A-rate facility. So sports at Vanderbilt is a really integral part of the campus experience, not to mention just hanging out on the quad and throwing football or frisbee or maybe rugby. I don't know.
You know, I wanted to point this out for everyone, just because Tom's experience really highlights the community spirit that you have for the rest of your life. There's going to be an attachment to the university that you choose in America, and it's completely unprompted that Tom just happens to know everything about Vanderbilt sports nowadays, and that is just an indication of how close of ties you keep to the university long after you finish school, which is, again, pretty special. Mary, would you mind if we transition into how students can apply to Vanderbilt from abroad?